So welcome to this session on ulnar nerve. Like in the introduction of the median nerve, we said it's a laborer's nerve. In the introduction of the ulnar nerve, we say that it is a musician's nerve. Why musician's nerve? Because it supplies the majority. It supplies the majority of the muscles of hand. Almost 15 and half muscles of the 20. 15 of the half muscles of the 20. Root value. The root value of the ulnar nerve is, ideally it is a branch of the medial cord, and all the branches of the medial cord have root value of C8 T1, but this gets additional C7. We'll discuss later why this additional C7 is being given to the ulnar. The origin of this nerve, it is continuation. It is continuation of the medial cord. Okay. Now let us check the origin of the ulnar nerve, or let us talk about the course and relations. Okay. So because it is a branch of the brachial plexus, medial cord of brachial plexus, it takes its origin from the axilla. Takes the origin from axilla. From the axilla, it goes to the arm. In the arm, it gives no branches. In the axilla, no branches. And what happens is, almost in the middle of the arm, or in the lower part of the arm, it pierces the intramuscular septum and goes to the posterior compartment. Goes to posterior compartment of arm. And that's how it passes behind the medial epicondyle. It reaches behind medial epicondyle. So in the axilla, where it is medial to the axillary artery, medial to the third part of axillary artery, because it is continuation of the medial cord. All of us know that in the second part of the axillary artery, there is one cord medially, one cord laterally, one cord posteriorly. The cords are named as per their position around the axillary artery's second part. So reaches behind the medial epicondyle. From there, it enters the forearm. It enters the forearm by passing between two heads of flexor carpi ulnaris. Sometimes this is called as a cubital tunnel. Then it goes in the forearm. In the forearm, it lies between flexor digitorum superficialis and flexor digitorum profundus. Then it enters the hand by passing above the flexor retinaculum. Like median nerve was passing below the flexor retinaculum in the carpal tunnel, and that's how median nerve had a chances of getting blocked chances of getting blocked in the carpal tunnel. So enters the hand by passing above the flexor retinaculum. Okay, and then divides into superficial and deep branch. Okay, which ultimately supply 15 and half muscles and medial 1.5, medial 1.5 cutaneous supply to the digits and nail beds. Medial 1.5 cutaneous supply to the digits and nail beds. So the course starts in the axilla. It is where it is medial to the third part of axillary artery. Then it moves to the arm where it gives no branches and runs medial to the brachial artery. Okay, runs medial to the brachial artery. It pierces the intermuscular septum. It pierces the medial intermuscular septum and goes behind the posterior epicondyle, goes to the posterior compartment of the arm, sorry, and enters the forearm by passing between the where it reaches behind the medial epicondyle. Then it enters the forearm by passing between two heads of flexor carpi ulnaris. Then in the forearm, it lies between flexor digitorum superficialis and flexor digitorum profundus. Enters the hand by passing above the flexor retinaculum. Now let's start drawing. Let us start drawing the ulnar nerve or various diagrams which we can draw for the ulnar nerve. First diagram is the diagram for its origin. And for that we draw the brachial plexus. C5, C6, C7, C8, T1. These are the roots. The C5, C6 root unite to form upper trunk. C7 the root continues as middle trunk. C8, T1 unites to form the lower trunk. Each trunk further divides into anterior and posterior division. Anterior and posterior division. For convenience, many books what they do is they make this as anterior and this as posterior, so that you don't have to cross too many things. So anterior of the upper trunk and middle trunk unite to form lateral cord. The posterior of all the three unite to form the posterior cord, and anterior of the lower cord continues as medial cord. Medial cord, you track it, all its branches have root value C8, T1. Okay, the medial cord mnemonic is M4U. Okay, U is ulnar, which has a root value of C8, T1, and it get additional fibers from C7 because C8, T1 will supply the muscles of the hand and C7 will supply few muscles in the forearm. Okay. So what are the M4U? The medial cutaneous nerve of forearm. Medial pectoral nerve. The next one is medial root of median, which goes here, unites with the lateral cord, which gives lateral root of median to form median nerve. So lateral cord has a root LML, right? Lateral pectoral, then the musculocutaneous nerve and lateral root of median. So this is lateral root of median. This is medial root of median. So now our area of concentration is this M4U. U is ulnar and the root value is C7 for forearm muscle and C8, T1 for the hand. This C7 it gets from here. Okay. So these are the diagram for origin. Second, we draw its diagram for its relations with axillary artery. Relation with the axillary artery. So an axillary artery has three parts. All of us know axillary artery gets divided into three parts by the gets divided into three parts by the pectoralis major muscle. The axillary artery runs like this, and pectoralis major runs like pectoralis minor. Sorry, minor runs like this. This is first part, second part, and third. When we draw the relations of these three parts, we show pectoralis major anteriorly always. Okay, we show posteriorly serratus anterior in the first part, subscapularis in the second part, and in the third part we show subscapularis, then teres major and latissimus dorsalis. So we show axillary artery first part, axillary artery second part, axillary artery third. Throughout on the medial side is axillary vein. Throughout on the lateral side is coracobrachialis muscle. Coracobrachialis muscle. Anteriorly is pectoralis major, pectoralis major, pectoralis major. In the second part, anteriorly will be pectoralis minor also. Pectoralis minor. So the cords are arranged, named as per their arrangement around the second part of the axillary artery. So in that second part, posterior cord will be posterior, medial cord will be medial, and lateral cord will be lateral. In the first part, the lateral cord and the posterior cord are lateral, and medial cord is posterior. So they travel like this. Medial cord in the second part reaches its position. This medial cord continues as ulnar nerve. This posterior cord continues as radial nerve. And this lateral cord continues as lateral root of median and further forms the median. So ulnar nerve, the relations in relations in the axilla will be as follows: anteriorly pectoralis major, right? Anteriorly pectoralis major. Posteriorly, we can write subscapularis. Posteriorly subscapularis. We can write teres major, latissimus dorsi. What is there? Medially is axillary vein. Laterally axillary artery. So these are the relations. Okay. Of the ulnar nerve, relations of the ulnar. So we will be drawing only this diagram. Okay. When we are drawing the relations. Okay. Then we said that it in the arm, what happens is that the axillary artery now becomes brachial artery, and the radial and the we know that median now crosses it from lateral to medial side, median now. But ulnar now remains medial. Ulnar now remains medial always. Suppose this is medial side, this is lateral side. Okay, so median now crosses from lateral to the medial side. Ulnar now, and then it pierces and goes posterior. It pierces the intermuscular septum, the medial intermuscular septum, pierces medial intermuscular septum and goes posteriorly, and it is found behind. It is found behind the medial epicondyle. So if you also behind the medial epicondyle, you will find in your body also a cord-like structure, not too thick. Okay, it becomes very thick in leprosy, and for leprosy patients, that is the one of the physical diagnostic tests that we check a thick ulnar nerve, because this is the example where the nerve is palpable. Normally, the big nerves are not palpable. Here we find that behind our medial epicondyles, this nerve is palpable and so superficial that sometimes when our medial epicondyle touches a table or anything, we kind of lay people, they say that current lag gaya, current mere haath mein. So that is what. Now let us talk about the branches. Let us talk about the branches of the ulnar nerve. Okay, branches of the ulnar. The ulnar nerve, it starts, it has a root value of C8, C7, C8, T1, and in arm there are no branches. Okay, In axilla, there are no branches. So no branches in axilla, no branches in arm. Then it goes down in the forearm. So forearm, suppose this is superficial compartment and this is deep compartment. In the superficial compartment, it supplies one muscle, flexor carpi ulnaris. Only one muscle. There are 5 muscles over there. The remaining 4 are supplied by the median nerve. And in the deep compartment, there are 3 muscles. Okay, here in the superficial compartment, there are 5 muscles. Pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, flexor digitorum superficialis, and palmaris longus. Okay, and flexor carpi ulnaris. So only this one muscle, flexor carpi ulnaris, is supplied by the ulnar nerve. In the deep compartment, there are 3 muscles: flexor digitorum profundus, which is there lateral, medially, flexor digitorum profundus, flexor pollicis longus, which is there on the lateral aspect, and pronator quadratus. So all of these are supplied by the anterior intraosseous nerve, branch of anterior intraosseous nerve, which is a branch of median nerve. But it only supplies the lateral half of flexor digitorum profundus. Lateral half of flexor digitorum profundus. So this ulnar nerve supplies the medial half of flexor digitorum profundus. Medial half of flexor digitorum profundus. And then it goes above the flexor retinaculum. So suppose here is the flexor retinaculum. The ulnar nerve doesn't pass below it, passes above it. It passes above the flexor retinaculum, passes above flexor retinaculum, and enters the hand. In the hand, it divides into superficial and deep branches, which I'm not showing. I'm just showing the number of muscles. I'm not showing what is supplied by superficial branch and what is supplied by deep branch, but it supplies the muscles. It supplies the 4 muscles of hypothenar eminence. 4 muscles of hypothenar eminence. It supplies 4 palmar interosseous muscles. It supplies 4 dorsal interosseous muscles. It supplies medial uh, 2 lumbricals, that is lumbrical 3 and 4. Lumbrical 3 and 4 lumbricals. So medial 2 lumbricals it supplies. That is lumbrical number 3 and 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 plus 2, 14. It goes right up to the thenar eminence, and there it supplies adductor pollicis. So 1. So this becomes 15, right? 4 plus 4, 4 hypothenar eminence muscles, 4 palmar interosseous, 4 dorsal interosseous, 2 lumbricals, plus 1, 15, plus and palmar and half, that is the deep head of flexor pollicis brevis. So with that we complete that 15 and a half muscles, 4 plus 4 plus 4, 4 hypothenar, 4 palmar interosseous, 4 dorsal interosseous, the 2 lumbricals, and 1 and a half thenar muscles, adductor pollicis, and the deep head of flexor pollicis brevis. And then it supplies the medial 1 and a half. Then the remaining is cutaneous. The cutaneous supply, the medial 1 and a half digits and nail bed. So if this is the thumb, like this, and then this is the index finger, this is the middle finger, this is the ring finger, and this is the little finger. So ulnar now gives cutaneous branches like this. So the medial 1.5, this little finger and half, medial half of ring finger. That's how it supplies medial 1.5 cutaneous supply. Okay. So now we talk about the applied anatomy. Applied anatomy. So ulnar nerve can be paralyzed in case of Klumpke's paralysis, which is where lower trunk is damaged. Ulnar nerve can be damaged, because we said it passes above the flexor retinaculum. So any cut in the flexor retinaculum, any suicide attempt, on the medial side, if there is a cut, the ulnar nerve is damaged. So damage to the ulnar nerve causes claw hand. Damage to ulnar nerve, it causes claw hand. Okay. What is claw hand? Claw hand is hand becomes like this. These lumbricals, introosseae, they pass anterior to the metacarpophalangeal joint, and they pass posterior to the interphalangeal joint. There are two interphalangeal joints, proximal and distal. They pass behind like this. Because they pass behind like this, what happens is they pass anterior to this, so they cause flexion. So their action is like this, causing flexion at metacarpophalangeal joint and extension at interphalangeal. So when ulnar nerve is paralyzed, exactly opposite happens. That is, there is flexion at the interphalangeal joint and extension at the metacarpophalangeal. Okay. So when ulnar nerve is paralyzed, exactly it happens like this. There is extension at metacarpophalangeal joint and flexion at the interphalangeal joint. So that is claw hand. So normally what happens is ulnar claw hand, because what is happening is the ulnar nerve supplies the medial half of profundus, right? But the lateral half of profundus is still supplied by the median nerve. So these two digits don't, get paralyzed. But complete claw hand, incomplete claw hand is like this. Ulnar claw hand is still like this. Then there is something called as Fromet's test. In Fromet's test, what happens? Because it supplies the adductor pollicis, ulnar nerve supplies adductor pollicis. So person is not able to hold a book, between the thumb and the index finger. Person is unable to hold a book. Okay, so ulnar nerve is quite bad damage because person develops a claw hand. Now there is something called as ulnar paradox. Little difficult to understand. Normally, whenever a nerve is damaged, higher up, suppose a nerve is damaged here, we should see excessive symptoms. And if it is damaged here, we should see less symptoms because some muscles are being spared. Ulnar paradox is that if ulnar nerve is damaged here, we see a classical claw hand. Okay, we see a classical claw hand. And if ulnar nerve is damaged here, we don't see a classical claw hand. Why? Because if it is damaged here, even the medial half of flexor digitorum profundus is spared. So this, otherwise when it is damaged at this point, the profundus is still active, which is causing flexion. But now when that is also damaged, we don't see a classical claw hand because profundus is not available for the flexion of these digits. So symptoms of the ulnar nerve damage are exaggerated when the damage is lower. And when the damage is higher, we don't see a classical claw hand. Okay. So ideally, we should feel that if the damage is higher, we should see more muscles are paralyzed. So we should see classical symptoms. So ulnar paradox is when the damage is higher up, no classical claw hand is seen. Okay, because flexor digitorum profundus is also paralyzed. Flexor digitorum profundus. So lower down, lower down if there is a damage near the hand, lower down when there is damage near hand, we see classical claw hand. So that's the problem. Okay, so classical claw hand, we thought that higher the damage, we should get a classical claw hand. It is perfect. Now we'll revise the ulnar now very fast. Ulnar now root value is 6. It's a musicians now. It supplies almost 15.5 muscles of the 20 muscles of the hand. Okay, its root value is C7, C8, and T1. Its origin, it is continuation from the medial part of brachial plexus. It starts in the axilla where it is medial to the third part of axillary artery, goes to the arm where it is medial to the brachial artery, pierces the intermuscular septum in the arm and goes to the posterior compartment and reaches behind the medial epicondyle. It enters the forearm by passing between two heads of flexor carpi ulnaris, which is called as cubital tunnel. Then it goes to the forearm where it lies between flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus. And towards the end, you know what are its relations. It's on its medial side is flexor carpi ulnaris. On its lateral side is flexor digitorum superficialis, and on its posterior side is flexor digitorum profundus. And ulnar now lies in between like this. Then it enters the hand by passing above the flexor retinaculum, divides into superficial and deep branch. So this is its formation. This is its root value. This is its relation with the axillary artery. It lies medial to the axillary artery in the third part. In the arm, it lies medial to the brachial artery and then pierces the intermuscular, medial intermuscular septum, goes behind. In the arm, it supplies no, in axilla, it does not supply any muscle. In the arm, it does. Axilla, no muscle is supplied. No muscle is supplied in the arm. In the in the forearm, in the forearm, it supplies one superficial muscle, flexor carpi ulnaris, and half of flexor digitorum profundus. Then it goes above the flexor retinaculum. There are 20 muscles, so of which 4 hypothenar muscles. Hypothenar muscles are these hypothenar muscles. And 4 palmar interossei. The palmar interossei take their origin and they go like this. Okay, so they are the ones which. So and then there are dorsal interossei. Dorsal interossei, they come from the posterior aspect. Okay, all these muscles, they are attached to the dorsal digital expansion. So there will be 4 palmar interossei which go in, get inserted like this. Okay, this like this like this. So when they contract, when a muscle going like this contract, it will cause adduction. Adduction of the digits is considered as movement towards the middle finger. Okay, and away from it is abduction. Away from it is abduction. The palmar interossei is attached to this side. Dorsal interossei are attached to this side. So dorsal interossei, when they contract, they will cause abduction. It is attached here. It will cause abduction. Okay, so 2 are attached here to keep it stable. One is attached here. One is dorsal interossei. So dorsal interossei is this. My finger is like dorsal interossei. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rather, it starts from here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what will it do? It will pull it out. What will it do? It will pull it away from the middle finger, dorsal interossei. Okay. Well, the palmar interossei are attached like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, it contracts, brings the thumb, adducts the 2, contracts, brings it near the middle finger. 3, contracts, brings it. 4, contracts, brings it. So if I have to show the palmar and the dorsal interossei, I show that suppose 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If these are the digits, the palmar interossei, they run like this. The palmar interossei, their attachment is like this. So what they do, they pull the fingers towards the middle finger. This is middle finger. Okay, so this is palmar interossei 1, 2, 3, 4. So they cause adduction. Okay, well, dorsal interossei, suppose this is digit 1, digit 2, digit 3, digit 4, digit 5. This is the thumb. This is little finger. Now dorsal interossei, they are attached like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if this contracts, it will cause abduction. This will cause these two don't have any action as such. They keep it stable. Now what about the thumb? And they have their own digits. Like we said, the four muscles of the hypothenar eminence. What are they? Opponents digiti minimi. The muscles are called digiti minimi. Opponents digiti minimi. Then abductor digiti minimi. So they have their own abductor. Thumb also has its abductor digitor, abductor pollicis longus, abductor pollicis brevis. Opponents. So similarly, as the thumb has the what are the muscles of the thenar eminence? There is abductor pollicis longus, opponens pollicis, right? Adductor pollicis, and flexor pollicis. So here also there will be flexor digiti minimi, opponens digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, and palmaris brevis. So these are the four uh, hypothenar muscles. Okay, so all these four are supplied by all these four muscles of the hypothenar eminence, palmaris brevis, abductor digiti minimi, opponens digiti minimi, and flexor digiti minimi. They are all supplied by ulnar. These are four palmar introtia which go like this. They are supplied all four by ulnar. These are the dorsal introtia. Dorsal introtia. They are the abductors. So why no abductors here? Because they have their separate abductors. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this has there is abductor pollicis over here. There is abductor digiti minimi over here for the little finger. Okay, so there is the four hypothenar muscles, four palmar introtia, four dorsal introtia. All of them are attached to the dorsal digital expansion of the extensor digitorum muscle. Now about the lumbricals. Lumbricals are on the tendon of the flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, so the profundus has four tendons. Okay, it splits into four tendons. One goes to index finger, one goes to middle finger, one goes to the ring finger, and one goes to little finger. Okay, and the lumbricals, they arise like this from it. Okay, one. So these are unipinnate, and the next two are the bipinnate. Bipinnate, they take origin from both, from the corresponding side, from this tendon as well as this tendon. So these are bipinnate. They take origin from two tendons. This was taking origin only from one tendon. So it is unipinnate, like a single leaf, unipinnate. But this looks like bipinnate, taking one head origin is here, one origin is here. This is also bipinnate. This one origin is here, one origin is here. So this is lumbrical 1, lumbrical 2, lumbrical 3, lumbrical 4 on the tendon of flexor digitorum profundus muscle. Okay, on the flexor digitorum profundus muscle. Okay, these lumbricals, suppose this is the metacarpal, and these are the three phalanges. Now the lumbricals, what they do, they pass anterior to the metacarpophalangeal joint and posterior to the interphalangeal joint, get attached to the distal phalanx on the dorsal digital expansion. So they will flex the metacarpophalangeal. This joint they will, because it is passing anterior, it will flex. And the remaining these two joints, it is passing posterior, so it will extend them. It will extend them. So these are the 20 muscles of the hand. Okay, and on the thenar eminence, same thing. We have abductor abductor pollicis brevis, opponens pollicis. So abductor pollicis will call abduction. Opponens pollicis will call opposition. This is the opposition movement. The thumb touches the other finger. It will cause flexion, flexor pollicis brevis, and adductor pollicis, which runs like this to cause adduction. Now this adductor pollicis is supplied by ulnar, and flexor pollicis brevis superficial head is by the median nerve, and deep head is by ulnar. So in the arm, we have brachialis, which has double nerve supply, right? Radial nerve is proprioceptive, and muscular cutaneous nerve is motor. In the forearm, we have the flexor digitorum profundus, which has double nerve supply. Medial half is by ulnar nerve, lateral half is by median nerve. And in hand, we have flexor pollicis brevis, where the deep head is by the ulnar nerve and superficial head is by the medial nerve. So with that, we finish our session on the hand, the ulnar nerve and the muscles of the hand. Thank you so much.